of the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken meeting the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Now, this meeting that is lined up between the two leaders today, as the meeting has just gotten over with the NSA Ajit Doval in the national capital. Antony Blinken in India, the U.S. Secretary of State, as he is also expected to call upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi this afternoon. And this is Blinken's first visit to India since he assumed charge under President Joe Biden. And is the talks now expected to focus on a range of issues that are likely to take place, especially when it comes to the developing issues in Afghanistan, and other issues like Pakistan and China could be taken up between the two leaders of United States and India. Those pictures there of Dr. S. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, and the meeting between the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken that is currently taking place. He was also welcomed by the civil society leaders there, and he also talked about the relationship between the United States and India and had stated it to be one of the most important in the world, especially when it comes to equality of opportunity, the rule of law, the fundamental freedoms, including freedom of religion and belief, and both of the democracies are work under progress. Let me go across to Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor. So right after meeting NSA Ajit Doval, the meeting currently now taking place between the External Affairs Minister and the US Secretary of State. Abhishek.
Well, Amita, this is an important visit of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. It is important because it's first visit to India, but then this is the fourth time that the two leaders, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Blinken, are meeting. First was, of course, when EAM made a visit to Washington, D.C. a couple of months back. Then they met on the sidelines of G7 in the UK and on the sidelines of G20 in Italy. Essentially, the backdrop in which it is happening, the looming backdrop, I would say, that is Afghanistan. It's important that the two nations, the strategic partnership between the two nations really pans out at this hour when America is exiting Afghanistan, and there is almost a civil war, and all the agreements that have happened between Taliban and the Americans and the government in Kabul there are almost coming undone. And in that backdrop, it is important that the United States and India are on the same page as to what should be mutually expected.
Abhishek, we're just going to listen in to the live audio that is coming across of the meeting currently taking place. Please stay on with us.
In an increasingly multipolar world, peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific is as important for both of us as democratic stability in Afghanistan. Deepening the Quad as a collaborative platform is in our mutual interest, and we must work together even more closely on key contemporary challenges like terrorism, climate change, pandemics, and resilient supply chains. In democratic societies, it is also natural that legitimate concerns and people's aspirations will find expression, including in foreign policy. Our conversations on global issues in a rebalancing world would surely be richer from real exchanges of national experiences and historical perspectives. Once again, let me say how good it is to see you here, and I invite you to make your opening remarks.
Well, thank you so much. It is wonderful to be back in India, but for the first time in my capacity as Secretary of State. It's always a great pleasure to be with you. We've had the opportunity to know each other and work together for many years now, going back to the last time I was in government, and I deeply appreciate the work that we've been able to do together, and the work that I believe we're going to be able to do together in the coming months and years. And I really couldn't have said it any better than you just did. But let me say simply that as we're looking at it, as the United States sees it, there is not a single major challenge that has an impact on the lives of our citizens, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's a changing climate, whether it's the disruptive impact of emerging technologies, that can be addressed by any one of us acting alone. There is a greater imperative than ever, I think, on cooperation, coordination, collaboration among countries, especially among countries who share basic perspectives, basic values, and basic interests. And that is certainly the case with the United States and India. I think we've seen over the last couple of decades a relationship that has grown stronger and deeper across multiple administrations in both of our countries. And President Biden's determination is to continue in exactly that direction, to grow it even stronger and even deeper. We have a lot on our agendas, and I think that's actually a reflection of the strength of the relationship as it exists already, and you've touched on many of them. So I look forward to getting down to work with you and your colleagues. Thank you.
So just to follow up with the media presence there, as they will be soon asked to move out, as the meeting now currently will be starting between the U.S. Secretary of State, meeting External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, and is expected to witness a discussion on a wide range of issues, as it is being said by the External Affairs Minister in his statement, in his opening statement, that Antony Blinken's visit to India was also as an opportunity to continue with the high-level bilateral dialogues and to bolster the India-US global strategic partnership. Now, both sides are expected to review the robust and the multifaceted India-US bilateral relations and the potential, rather, also for consolidating them further. Now, let me go across to Abhishek Kapoor, our executive editor, who continues to be with us. The welcome statement that has also been given by the External Affairs Minister there, Abhishek, and also pointing out where the focus will be on a range of issues that includes the Indo-Pacific region from COVID-19 pandemic and, of course, the cooperation between the two countries.
Well, absolutely. Amita, so as you were discussing earlier, the External Affairs Minister, in fact, enumerated the common agenda, the common objectives of this meeting so well that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken actually said that, Minister, I could not have put it better, and he left it at that. So it clearly shows how and on what issues India and the United States are going to come together in this period of our strategic partnership. As the External Affairs Minister said, it is about making sure that common objectives, so far as the Indo-Pacific is concerned, free and fair Indo-Pacific is concerned, those are met. Then he mentioned about collaboration on the COVID pandemic, the vaccine front, and of course the issue of Afghanistan. So far as India is concerned, we have to make sure that the Americans leaving Afghanistan should not again become a hotbed of fostering and harboring terrorism. Remember, the Taliban, it's not just about the Taliban, it is about Taliban and their cohabitation and nurturing with about 30-odd terror organizations. It's a matter of concern for India, for the United States, and for the rest of the world as well. So the two nations have to come together and engage on that. In fact, as this month ends, India will be starting its presidentship of the United Nations Security Council for the month of August. And if there are certain common objectives that can be achieved at the UN through that office, I think that also would be on the table or should be on the table as the two delegations meet, and as we see in the picture, Samita. Apart from that, the fact that the Chinese have been a little recalcitrant, they are not agreeing to a second investigation by the WHO, which is a UN body, on the origins of the COVID virus. If the two can come together on that and discuss the modalities of how to bring about that possible investigation, that would be another aspect important so far as the global events, shaping up of the global events is concerned. Apart from that, Amita, there are some ticklish issues between the two sides. For example, we have seen recently India did struggle insofar as getting APIs or the intermediates for vaccines are concerned, so COVID vaccines are concerned, and that still remains an area on which the two sides have to collaborate more. Also, there was a bit of an irritant ahead of the visit of Secretary of State when one U.S. official mentioned about the possibility of Blinken discussing human rights as a repost to which Indian side clearly delineated that we are an old and mature democracy. We understand how to handle our internal issues. So I think whole gamut of issues being discussed threadbare. Also remember, over the last decade or so, the defense partnership has really become the most defining feature of India-US relationship, with almost $20 billion worth of defense equipment having been bought from the Americans. Recently, there were reports of Apache helicopter fuselage being manufactured in India, and the 100th unit being given to the U.S. company which is manufacturing them, the Boeing, I believe. And discussion on Quad. Remember, this is an engagement which has been given importance by the Biden administration as well. In fact, in one of his first foreign policy engagements, President Biden had called for a meeting of the Quad, and that remains a key focus area on which talks are to happen, with possibility of a foreign ministerial Quad also being planned later this year. So you can expect that the two leaders would be discussing that. Also later in the year, 2+2 dialogue. That is another very important aspect of the relationship. 2+2 ministerial dialogue. Last year it happened in India. And next year, or I beg your pardon, this year it has to happen in Washington, D.C. in the United States, and sort of to set the agenda for that meeting so that whatever loose ends are there, those can be tied as a build-up to that meeting. That is another aspect which has to be discussed or is on the table as the two leaders discuss. In fact, as the day pans out, Amita, the Secretary of State has already met the National Security Advisor. Now he is in a tie-to-tie delegation-level talks proper with the External Affairs Minister. After that, there would be a joint statement, and you can expect that it would reflect all the issues that we discussed. After that, most importantly, at around 2:45, the Secretary of State meets the Prime Minister. That's going to be a very important meeting when he goes to 7 LKM.